it wasn't until I got into seventh and eighth grade, and we were with the older kids, because it was one campus, one building. It wasn't like, junior high on this side of the road and senior high, or what have you. And hearing the slurs, or somebody making a comment, because up to that point I don't think I really heard that type of language, and certainly never lodged at me.
And that happened.
And that happened, yeah. So I think that was probably and then during that time, and that was seventh grade, I wanted to work so that I could have more money than what I was given as an allowance for, cleaning the house, washing dishes, so forth. And because I was always, a fashion plate, always had to, so I was fine, earn it. And we put an ad in a paper called the Red Bank Register at that time. No longer exists. And it was a woman in Highlands looking for a babysitter. And my mother took me. We get there. I knock on the door. My mother's waiting in the car. And this is downtown Highland. And I knock on the door, and the woman opens the door, and she's obviously dressed to go out for the evening, decked out. She looks me up and down, I mean up and down. And I was, what, 12? You know. And I was still 6 foot tall.
I know how you feel.
Yeah. And she says, "What do you want?" And I said, I'm here to, I told her my name. I said, "You talk to my mom, Joan, I'm here to babysit." And she says, "You most certainly are not." And she slammed the door in my face. So I didn't know what that meant. And I'm thinking, in my young mind, now, mind you, I came from a happy home. This just doesn't go on. You don't slam doors at people. Like, who raised you, lady? Like, you're strange people, you know. And my mother's looking, I turn around to look at my mother, and as I'm walking back to the car, because my mother's already, "What did she say?" What,
Yeah.
And as I'm walking back to the car, I'm like, "Oh wow, she must have married a horrible man. They must have been arguing because she's mad. Maybe they're not going out now." I mean, it's so innocent. So could you be more naive?
There was a difference here. There definitely was a difference because um, there were more there were more of us, more tribal members together. I felt like there was a group of us that started school together. When I moved here, and we were separated in the class, two of us in each class. It seemed like that's what it was. There are two of us in every class, and then by the time I graduated high school, I was the only one who graduated. Everybody else had dropped out.
Wow. And why do you think that is? Was it because the way that they were treated in the school
I
system
think
had an
so.
effect on them?
I think so. In high school, it was so draining. If you didn't have a good support system at home, or if you didn't have a strong will, if you were strong-willed, of course, you're gonna be broken down at some point. And it seemed like every day they, somebody's called down to the principal's office or to the dean's office for something, whether it was legitimate or not, you know. And I didn't get in trouble. I'm not a troublemaker. I never got in trouble. But I was called down for ridiculous things, and it's draining, you know.
Yeah, it's like no wonder. Like, I
Yes.
mean, what do you expect from students if you constantly are
Yeah.
putting them down and not
Yeah.
helping them in any way, which is what
Yeah.
the school system's supposed to do?
I actually got in trouble because somebody wrote on the bathroom stall about the tribal members and living on Stag Hill. They wrote this really bad thing on the bathroom wall, and I wrote a note to the dean of the school and just saying, this is on the bathroom stall in the girls' room, this stall number, blah blah blah. I got in trouble because I didn't erase it, you know. So I got in trouble and called down, and I got suspension, in school suspension, because I didn't erase it, and I was the one contributing to the problem because I didn't erase it. But I didn't feel it was my job to erase it.
Well,
if I would have erased it, it wouldn't have been the proof there that it was there.
right.
So I
No,
got in
that's.
trouble for that. So it was just so much nonsense,
Mhm.
you know. And right down until graduation, you know, I was told I wasn't going to graduate because of my absences, and that was a mistake. I was told I was going to graduate because I didn't hand in a book for a class I never took. That was a mistake. There were so many different things during graduation rehearsal that I was getting called out of like 3 different times for mistakes, telling me I wasn't going to graduate. It was such a pain at that point. I'm like, this is so ridiculous.
Wow.
It's just so ridiculous. And then they ranked me class of last in the whole class, and that was a mistake. So when I applied to college, to 3 different colleges, I didn't get in because I ranked last of the entire class of '96,
So then, what? How did you end up
which was a
getting in?
mistake.
Yeah. Did they end up correcting it, or?
Eventually, not right away. So I ended up going to community college for a semester that I just was able to get into.